Yo, how is everybody doing today? Thank you, everybody who's come in and for being part of the stream. And so, thanks everybody once again for coming in. And so today we have a special guest on here, RuneYosh. And so, RuneYosh, how is your day going? How's this amazing streamer?
Well, getting stuff done on a day-by-day basis, still in a lot of pain from my, wouldn't say an injury, but I would guess a flare-up. But other than that, getting about my day, doing my exercise and all that stuff to hopefully get back in action here pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're getting yourself all nice and situated with your your personal uh, you know issues and stuff like that. Because I know, man, that's been a problem with me. Last September especially, I was just having really bad, really bad pains and whatnot. So
hmm
yeah, oh, it's bad. It's super bad. Dude, can you? By the way, can you believe that it's 2025 now? I
Dude,
mean,
I swear to God, it was like literally probably 3 months ago. I was in like the middle of a conversation. I'm like, in the year of our, I was like referencing the year, and I said 2021. I was like, no, we're not in 2021. We're in 2024, about to be 2025. It hit me out of nowhere.
yeah. Right. And it's just amazing. Like it's crazy to think about like 10 years ago at this point, it was 2015. And
Oh,
that's when like Back to the Future 2 was like, oh, here's what 2015 is gonna look like. And then like they got
I'm still waiting for my gosh darn hoverboards. Where's my
yeah,
hoverboards?
where's the hoverboards, guys? Yeah. Yeah, no, stop with the AI stuff. Let's get this hoverboard invention going, or
In all honesty, if AI continues at the rate it's going, give it another 10 years, AI will create the hoverboards for us.
I mean, maybe. Um,
Well, to be fair though, AI is still on a bumpy start. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes it's helpful, other times it's not, so only
yeah,
time will tell.
yeah. Only time will tell, dude. But but I do like having jobs. Just saying, I'm just saying. I'm not gonna
The
get
AI took her derb.
like I'm not gonna get any more political than that. I'm just gonna say that much. So yeah. But yeah, yeah. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna start off with some ice breaking general questions, and then the format. The second part of the format is going to be we're going to be asking shape shifting questions, and then after that we're going to get into the streaming and the gaming specific questions. So
Let's go.
yeah, so RuneYosh, I asked everybody this in every single first part of the stream. What would be your useful superpower?
My useful superpower. Ooh. Oh, right out of the gate, you hit me with a curveball. Okay.
Ooh.
Useful superpower would be, I would say, physical time management. Almost every day I ask myself, or like I tell myself, man, if I could just manage my time a little better, things would just go so much better for not only me but the people I help, because I'm a technician, and if I could be more proficient at my job, it could help so many people that are like coming in for repairs or diagnosis and stuff like that. If I could manage time down to like the minute level,
Hmm.
that'd be a game changer for me.
Dude, wouldn't it? Man, I think we could all use that superpower of being able to manage time and like it's like it makes me wonder like how does a manager manage their time like in a any business, It's like do they just like I guess well, I mean, I know multitasking is one of them. I guess like how do they multitask and whatnot? I've
Yeah.
been a supervisor before, but not a manager, so
Right. I've been a supervisor as well in my time in the military. One of the biggest takeaways I can probably tell or say from my time as a supervisor is not what's the word I'm looking for? Not mitigate, but delegate. Delegating your tasks to the people under you in a efficient manner. We were able to identify their strengths and weaknesses,
mhm.
being able to do what they do at like their level of proficiency. That's probably like supervisor slash manager 101.
Yeah.
Utilizing the people under your care, under your supervision to the best of your ability and to the best of their ability.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the way, dude. All the way. Well, now I'm gonna hit you with yet another curveball. What is your useless superpower, or what would it
Oh,
be?
God, my useless superpower. What were all these curveballs? I thought you said this was gonna be streamlined. Oh, geez, a useless. You said useless superpower or useless skill?
A useless superpower.
Useless superpower. Um, shoot. Everything that I'm thinking of is useful, and I'm like, ah, wait, that's not right.
Everybody seems to take a lot of time to think about this, but for me, what I would do is I would actually, so you know how in Tears of the Kingdom, you have the ascend ability.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like my useless superpower would be the exact opposite of that, and I would have like a descend, quote unquote, ability, but like that, like if I had that ability, all I would do is like sink right through the floor, and I would like I would like end up in a end up in my neighbor's room or something, you know.
I don't think that's how up and down work. Oh wait, no, you said neighbor. Okay, hold on, that's a little different. I thought you were. I'm like, my brain was like in my own house. I'm like, if I use my descend ability, I'd be in my crawl space. There is nothing else below me. I would probably say being able to, like the recall ability in Tears of the Kingdom, but I could
Yeah.
only use it on myself. So
Oh,
say like I'm in
yeah.
a room and you encompass like a conversation within something, and you're like, I really don't want to be here. You just use recall on yourself. You're out of there.
It's like, oh, okay, all right. Well,
Now I'm here. No, I'm not.
it's like you just go, oh, okay, whatever, I
Walking
suppose.
backwards all throughout the room.
Walking
That would be my useless skill
backgrounds,
to the
or
dramatic exit.
or just like imagine you're taking a really intense like jog workout or something like that, and you use your recall ability, and then you just start jogging backwards in your neighborhood, like all the way back over to your house, and everybody's like, oh, what is he doing exactly? Is he
But let
jogging
me let me ask you this
backwards?
question. If you jogged half a mile and then recalled yourself half a mile, will your body feel like you ran a mile?
Ooh, that's a good point. Well,
Or are you undoing the muscle progression that you did and you just wasted your time?
you know, that might be a good point that you have there. Well, I actually happen to think, since you pointed out, you might be right about that. I don't think you would make any progress. You would just
Yeah,
undo all the
you're just
progress.
undo because it's affecting your body.
Yeah,
So you're just regressing all of that progression you just did. So
yeah,
useless powers activate.
yeah. There you go. Yeah. Good point there. But now, you're saying managing time. So if you were to time travel into the future, how do you like? How would you like see yourself as
If I
like?
had the ability to time travel into the
Yeah.
future,
What do you think
do
you
I
would
have
be
the
doing?
ability to time travel backwards?
Yes.
But like, okay. Um, honestly, probably I'd probably use it a couple times for very generous things, but I don't believe it wouldn't take me very long to use it maliciously towards my benefit. Like I travel forward, a month into the future to find out the Powerball winner, and then or something like that, and use it to gain mass fortune. It's like
Yeah.
I'm a simple guy, but at the end of the day, we all have our agendas.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, too busy for that, man. Too busy for that. Um. All right. So for the shape shifting questions, if you could transform to into any anthropomorphic animal other than Yoshi, it could be a fantasy creature or a real species. What would it be?
Other than Yoshi, you know, a precursor to the Yoshi fanatic phase, I was a huge Sonic fan,
Oh, so you'd be
but
a hedgehog.
I wouldn't say that much. I'd want to give it a little more thought than that. Um, to be fair, though, I think if I were to be like, I think way too realistic about these kind of things because if I were to shapeshift into something that's like fantasy wise, I feel like I just get captured up by the government and tested on. So
Oh,
you gotta be real subtle about these things. I think I'd be like a shapeshifter to where I have the ability to kind of like I know I'm kind of turning this question on its head, kind of like a slime. A slime can kind of take multiple forms, but it's got the ability to it's kind of like Ditto.
Yeah,
If
I
I
was
was,
just gonna say, yeah, kind of
I
like
would like be
Ditto.
ditto. Because
Yeah,
if you don't hide yourself amongst the crowd, you're gonna get singled out, captured, and tested on. It's
yeah,
I think way too realistic about questions like that.
yeah. No, no, that's a good point though. Um, yeah, no, that would be kind of interesting. I've stuck with a mouse, like an anthropomorphic mouse. And if I couldn't be a mouse, I'd be a cat. Which is kind of funny because last podcast I said that on with my the other guest when he goes, oh, so if he couldn't be a mouse, he could be the thing that eats you.
I love it. But like, here's the question now: how anthropomorphic are we getting? Are we talking like anime style, where you're just a human with cat ears and a tail? Or are we going full anthropomorphic, where you're basically a bipedal cat?
I'm thinking like full on anthropomorphic. Like I don't really think you necessarily have to have like the six pack, but I mean it would be I mean that, let's be honest, that would be kind of nice, but I'm thinking
Yeah, that
like
no lie.
full full on anthropomorphic.
So kind of like what you see when you see like a cat fursuiter, I guess.
You kind of like that. Kind of like
Okay.
that.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
Yeah. Just a little bit more hyper realistic. But which who like if he had an anthropomorphic animal roommate, who would it be?
I'd kick them out. I do not want a roommate.
Oh, really?
I
Oh,
live
dang.
alone and I have strived for this for so long. I do not want a roommate. I do not want a pet.
Hmm.
Period. Now, if I had a partner, that's different, but no pets, no
Yeah.
roommates.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, and so let's let's go ahead and we'll get right into the streaming questions. This is a question I ask everybody. How long have you been streaming for?
Well, there's actually technically a couple different answers to that question. Give me just a second because I have this written down. Because depending on how technical you want to get about that, uh, it could have multiple answers. Because I first technically started streaming on YouTube. So, like, I have to bring this back a couple years prior. So, I think around 2018. I
Hmm.
used to be just a YouTuber, not a streamer, but just like be a person who uploads YouTube videos. And
Okay.
then back in 2018, when my channel got demonetized, I was like, okay, let me skip away from the pre-recorded videos and go live. I did that for a little bit of times, and then I went to Twitch for a little bit. Back then, I was still using my webcam, so I wasn't a PNG tuber back then. I was a normal, what people say in the business, a skin tuber.
A skin tuber.
That's
That
what I've
sounds,
heard. It sounds dirty, I understand,
yeah.
but
That's
that's just what I've heard it be referenced to.
still
But I,
skin
yeah,
tuber. That's still SFW, right?
yes, at least from my understanding of it. Um, no,
I
I
think
have it saved as a text document. I just don't know where I have it saved.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think I ever want to call my. If I ever have a PNG tuber, it's definitely not. I'm not calling it a skin tuber. That's gonna sound like my anthropomorphic animal. My avatar is gonna be streaking like all the
Oh,
time. Which
jeez.
I mean, technically they are, and I don't really mind that too much, except for the fact that now we're just saying skin tuber. um, it's just I don't know, skin tuber, man.
Okay, so I found it. So
Okay.
if you want to talk about my technical first time I ever went live on a platform, either YouTube or Twitch, it was March 22nd of 2017. But then I took a break for 2 years, and then I started back up. This was back when I was still using my webcam.
Mhm.
This was May 28th of 2019, and then I took another break for 3 years. This was still using my face cam. This was October 1st of 2022. But if we're talking about my RuneYosh debut, that would be May 12th of 2023. So I haven't even been doing this for like I've been doing it for maybe a year and a half about so.
Mm, mm.
So
Okay.
yeah. So I guess in actuality, if you want to talk about me being RuneYosh, it's been about a year and a half so far.
Well, what made you want to start streaming and or at least I guess get back into streaming in 2023?
Well, there was a large portion because back in that time I was still in the military
Okay.
And getting off of work at around 4:30, 5 p.m. and, you know, I would just sit in my room and watch anime because I was in the barracks at the time.
Mhm.
I had a roommate sometimes I didn't. If I wanted to go out and do something, I was in the middle of desert in Southern
Mm-hmm.
California.
Mm-hmm.
So it automatically required like an hour and a half plus driving just to get anywhere noticeable or like, places where you'd actually want to hang out. So
Oh, yeah.
driving anywhere was not really appealing.
No.
Uh, Anything on base wasn't really appealing. So it was basically just sitting in my room, rotting away, watching anime. And don't get me wrong, that was fun. It was a great time, but it's like I missed the times that I was a content creator and I wanted to get back into it. So when I started again in 2023, I I ditched the camera and I went with the Yoshi.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I could focus way less on what I looked like, what was behind me. Lighting was a big thing when I was a video streamer because you don't get a whole lot of opportunities in the barracks with lighting. I had
Mm.
a lamp that was kind of like angled towards me from the side. I had an artificial light at the top. I didn't have none of this like fancy light bars or anything because I could never really get the lighting right. And I was like, let's scrap that all, get rid of all that, just work, listen to my voice and look at the funny Yoshi.
Yeah.
That's basically is where it all pieced together.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've said this before, but dude, we appreciate your services.
And I appreciate the support.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My motivation, like, it was originally raising money, which I know sounds kind of like, it can sound a little bit greedy. It depends on, like, I guess the context and whatnot, or
Yeah,
just
like what are you
someone's.
raising money for?
Yeah. And so, like, at the time it was for starting up a cartoon series, and well, that's gonna take a lot of money. Like, I was thinking of like
Absolutely.
like a cinematic, it could I was thinking of like a movie short, like a short cinematic, right? And so
Hmm.
I gotta tell you, in general, movies, like low budget movies, do you know how much low budget movies cost?
How long is the movie?
Well, I'm thinking like, well, in general, it would be like 2 hours, but
2 hour low budget movie animated.
yeah,
Probably you're breaking the $1 million threshold.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's expensive to animate.
yeah,
Very, very expensive.
yeah. So like raising money on Twitch was like there was that really low chance that that was gonna happen, but I thought, I'll just take it anyway, and maybe it won't
I mean,
succeed, maybe it will. I don't know, but
yeah, you can't succeed if you don't try.
yeah, and you'll never know. So
Exactly.
that's yeah. So but now, I mean, I do it because I want to develop skills. I want to hang out with the community, and now we have a nice little ranking system in my over here. So I mean, that's the main thing. So it's been really nice. It's been really nice hanging out with a community full of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was what is one thing you didn't expect from when you started streaming from Twitch?
One thing I didn't expect is that I thought when I became a Yoshi PNG tuber, I thought, man, this is like I've seen all these VTubers all over the place. They're anime women, anime mans, and you know, cowgirls and giraffe women. And I was like,
Giraffe. Oh
what
man.
are the chances that there's other Yoshi VTubers? I was like, I've got to be the only one. I've got to be. And then Rock Pixels popped into my stream probably like I would say maybe a month after I started streaming because there was, those times when you first start out where you go your entire stream, nobody chats in your thing, nobody watches you, you're streaming to nobody, and I expected that. I
Hmm.
totally wholeheartedly expected that. What I didn't expect is one of the first few people to reach out to me was another Yoshi who not only was welcoming and inviting, but also was just like, "Hey, check out all these other Yoshi VTubers." I was like, "Oh, I'm not the only one."
And
Ah,
it's like
I thought I was original.
it's like, oh, okay, so they're okay. Now I know where
Yeah.
to look. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so absolutely, I give a lot of praise to Rock Pixels for introducing me to this community that I did not know existed until he was like, "Ta-da!"
Yeah. Dude, that's really cool. So is he like one of the first regular viewers on your streams, or was he like did he come like a little bit later?
So if you want to go in technicality,
Yeah.
I used to, when one of my other previous friends, I say previous because I haven't really talked to him in a long time,
Oh, okay.
um, because he used to stream on YouTube, and I would kind of be like his co-star in the background. I didn't have a model to represent myself. I was just like back then. I was just Yosh. This was before the Rune phase, but I was just Yosh back then. So no one ever really knew. Wouldn't say know me, but they were like, "Yep, that voice, that's Yosh in the background," because he used his webcam, but the other co-stars with him was just using his voice. It wasn't until I moved over to Twitch and started using my Yoshi model. There were probably onesies and twosies that came from his stream over to watch me, but it was never really consistent. They'd pop in, say a few things. I think Rock was like the first consistent guy to come to my streams and
Yeah.
actually chat up a storm.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that happens too. Like, man, people will come in and you're like, and you wouldn't think like you would really not expect so somebody with like, well, no, that doesn't, well, never mind. What I'm saying was going to be like talking out of my butt there, but yeah, basically it's just nice. It's it's really nice to be able to connect with people and find out, oh, hey, okay, we got stuff in common here. So um
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's just the nice thing about streaming. And yeah, the what inspired, because I was watching some of your streams, and I do notice that you got a pretty good aesthetic background, and you've got some other really good, some pretty good graphics. What inspired your aesthetics?
Well, I when it comes to like my chatting screen, it's a very generic Super Mario Bros. World to Yoshi's background. I wanted to keep it one like identifiable. Like you can say like, oh yeah, that's SMB2 World Yoshi's Island. But I also wanted it to be so minimalistic, so it's not like you're checking out the background, but also didn't want it to be a solid color.
Yeah,
Like one of those things where it's so minimalistic. So,
yeah,
memorable to the character, but enough to not be distracting. And then when it comes to when I'm like in game, I actually commissioned that I want to say about a year ago, but I was going for a contrasting color of my blue to a light purplish pink. So again, it was like contrasting but not like an eyesore, kind of like calm colors.
yeah. I gotcha. Um. Okay, so you just wanted to keep it in rhythm with Yoshi's character and whatnot, just kind of make it
Yeah,
match that
it's
look and
it's
feel.
simple, but it's I wouldn't say joyous, but simple and I would say like lovable or like welcoming. Probably welcoming would be a
Welcoming,
good thing.
make it a
Because
peaceful
I
environment.
peaceful, cozy. I think
Yeah.
peaceful and cozy was what I was going for the entire aesthetic.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's yeah, and that's a very good that's like a very good theme. Um, and so I know you said you had an artist with design, or not design, but illustrate your PNG tuber. And so I mean, how long ago did she? Or I think it was a she, right? I don't
Yes, it
remember.
was she. She
Yeah.
has changed her name twice. But when I first commissioned her, I think her name was Lucy Was Taken. You know the classic. That's what you wanted to be your name, but it
Oh,
was
I
taken. So
think
you just incorporate that into your your
y-
name. But she has since changed her name.
yeah, I think I've heard of that name. Lucy Was Taken. Yeah, because I remember somebody. I remember somebody liked my one of my 3D renders, and it was, or it might have not been one of my 3D renders, but um, that sounds like a very familiar name. How long ago did you say she illustrated the European GTuber?
I can give you an exact date. Give me just a second.
Oh, okay.
It was May of 2023. So basically right before I revisited the scene back in 2023. So as soon as I got my model, I was like, let's do this, boys.
Eh,
It's like I was so eager to get back to it, but I also wanted something to represent myself.
yeah.
And she did fantastic with my model. I've made some slight adjustments over the year and a half, but
Mm,
very, very minimalistic. Like As you can see right now, you can only see my left arm.
Mm,
Back when I first commissioned it, you could act my right hand was
I
actually
saw.
sticking out from my chest. That's what I used to have, but I have since deleted it because it
Yeah.
kind of just stuck out with me having my right hand up. So I deleted that. She made my angry emoji, my
Okay.
happy emoji.
Okay.
One of my friends edited the base model to give me the dreadful one. So this one was actually created by one of my, I would say, fan friends. If you're
Okay.
familiar with Minimod.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one was edited. This one was edited. I drew this one of my low poly and this one by myself. And everything else is just kind of like little edits over the years without my headphones, give myself a little necktie for Monkey Mondays. And the
Uh,
low poly mode was just kind of like a ripoff from Terminal Montage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's had some adjustments over the years.
that's cool. That's cool. I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So, and you seem very happy with it.
I'm absolutely ecstatic with it. I'm so glad that it's been able to carry me so far without any sort of like overhauling or adjusting or having to redo it. That's a lot of things I've seen with streamers nowadays. Like they have a model debut and they use it for 6, 7 months, and then they just revamp their entire style with a new model debut and then a new model debut. I'm like, can't we just keep it consistent? Is that too much?
Yeah.
It's always got to be what's the next bigger and better thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, some of these newer models that I've been seeing from creators around the scene are great. Fantastic upgrades. Beautiful because I know when they first commission their thing, it's, most of the time it's a budget thing because whew, don't get me wrong, these models can get
They
expensive.
they can. Let's be
Oh, very
honest. They
expensive.
can.
I remember I was talking with a creator and they were like, "Oh, I got my model done over here." And I actually looked at their site and their commission things for a base model with just like normal rigging of like 3D. Well, not, yeah, it's like that 2D. Sorry, excuse me, yeah, 2D. It was like $6,000. I'm like, "Are you kidding
For a
me?"
2D illustration, hold up a
This is
second.
like this is like one of those Twitter professional, like kind of like
Okay.
how HoloLive is like one of those professional companies. Think of
Yeah.
that as like professional riggers. And I was like, I'm not about to drop a down payment on a house on a fucking
Uh,
2D model.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I expect that, an illustration, I mean, the value behind an illustration, and I guess it kind of sort of makes a little bit of sense because, you got all these different expressions that you can use, or that you that you have to illustrate. And then, along with that is, the lighting, and the different variations of like, let's see, what's another example? Just different variations of like styles of illustrations themselves, and like having to, it's just a whole process. Now I haven't seen a big process from like PNG tubers specifically, but from like all the expressions that I have seen, it does kind of look like there's a pretty big value to it. um I'd have to do a little bit more research than that, but I'll be honest. Like I thought maybe at tops it would have been like $1,000 tops.
Well, it all depends on the professionability of the creator you reach
It
out to.
it does.
So my original, when I commissioned Lucy Was Taken, I literally only got this model with mouth open, mouth closed. This model with the mouth, or like the teeth gritting,
Yeah.
I edited it. I had to edit the teeth closed. Like that was not part of the base that I commissioned her for.
Yeah.
She did not give me a mouth closed option. And
Uh,
then the happy one, I had to edit the mouth closed.
mhm.
So I technically only got this one with mouth open and closed, this one with the teeth gritting, and this one with the mouth open. That's all I got, and that was $140. But that was bare bones,
That
so
was
it
bare
took a little
bones.
bit of, I had to stretch it a little bit to kind of make it more versatile.
Yeah. Hmm. Dude, yeah, I can agree that. I mean, any sort of graphics that you get is very expensive. Because, like I said, I mean, the graphic design is a pretty, and illustrations too. Along with that, it's very it's still pretty high in demand. It's not as high in demand as it used to be, but even then,
Yeah.
it's
One of
still
the
a
one of the
popular.
biggest things when it comes to like VTubers, like normal VTubers nowadays, is that the illustration's not the expensive part, it's the rigging. The rigging is the most important part because you have versatility of creating a still image and being able to kind of mimic it to mimic movement. And that's kind of hard to turn a 2D still image and make it simulate 2D motion.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that takes talent. It really does. But
Talent,
yeah,
time, and patience, and a lot
yeah.
of it.
And if you're thinking about regulating like a 3D model, like it's not, I'm not, I know we're talking about 2D, but like 3D, like I can think of an example of like, you know how in Smash 4, I don't know, have you played Smash 4? You've
Very, very little. I never owned a 3DS nor a Wii U myself, but I played it at my friend's house.
it, so the rigging and well really mostly the weight painting for Yoshi was kind of odd. He was a little bit he kind of looked like he had a bit of a boneless structure a little bit
He's
for
wiggly.
yeah, he's very wiggly. Like it looked a little odd. Like the pivot grabs was like the one where like he would turn around and he would go, you know, he would flick his tongue out, and then when he stuck it back in, his nose would just go, and it's like, what the heck?
Kind of like a recoil thing. I wouldn't know too much about that because back when Smash 4 was kind of like the hottest Smash game, I actually didn't play Yoshi back then. I played Falco.
Oh, Falco.
So because when Melee was out, I was a Falco main, and then Brawl, it kind of got a little weird because Brawl was a huge different step between Melee and Brawl, and then I never owned Smash 4. But then when Smash Ultimate came out, I tried to play as Falco, and it was just nowhere where it was back in Melee. And then after I searched around for a bit, that's when I landed on Yoshi as my main in Ultimate. But
Yeah.
I've since dropped Ultimate. I went back to Melee.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Falco was a very popular character in Smash 4. Like you could not have a party without Falco. But yeah, like the PNG tuber, like you know, like I said that yeah, I haven't seen the process for for creating PNG tubers. The only process that I've seen is from Echo, one of Rock's artists.
Yeah.
And so that was a really interesting process there. I mean, I've seen very similar before, like with logo designs and you know just like creating different variations, but it wasn't like facial expressions, you know. So
Probably one of the biggest things that probably gets looked over, which you probably notice from time to time, but you don't really like think about it when you think about it, is that you need to have a mouth open, mouth closed, eyes open, and eyes closed variant for each expression. So you technically have 4 illustrations for each emotion. So
yeah,
if I actually double tap my emotions, I can actually get my model stuck on the eyes closed.
yeah.
So you
Oh,
also
there you go.
have one with the eyes closed. So that you have to do that with every expression. So not only do you just need an illustration, you need 4 variations for each expressions.
Yeah,
So the multitude gets really, really high for
yeah,
trying to bring a 2D still image to life.
yeah. Yeah, and that's a very good point. And I know when I was studying a little bit of character design in my own time, it was like, yeah, you gotta make sure you can make the eyes blink and whatnot, because otherwise, like, they're gonna really be staring into your soul, and you know, it's like, okay, yeah,
Like, why are
uh,
you staring at me, bro?
or is it staring at me?
I
Were
know you
these
like eye contact, but goddamn.
yeah, like I appreciate the eye contact, but now just look away, you know, or something like that. I don't know,
You put
but
all your eye attributes into eye contact.
yeah. Yeah. So did the artist also do the lighting?
Yeah, so the shading was actually that came stock with the final design, so I didn't
Okay.
have to do any shading correction or anything like that.
Okay. Did has anybody, I think I've seen like one person, and I gotta say, like, I know you really value aesthetics, and you I mean, you give it your 110% when you're designing your streams, and so I mean, even your Christmas stream from last year was looking pretty good. So I
I'll
was
be
like,
honest, I kind of threw that together in like 45 minutes because someone in my comments be like, because I was still operating off of my Halloween aesthetics, and they were like, "It's December, get rid of the Halloween." I was like, "Okay, okay, okay." Let me grab a background, grab a couple little green screen effects, add some snow, and I'm
for
like, "There you go, good enough."
for a rush job, it looked pretty good.
It's like
So
one of those like like when you have a huge assignment that you were given a week to work on, and then it's the last night before the project is due, and it's like 11:30 at night, and you drink 2 Red Bulls. You're like, all right, let's get this shit done. That's basically what it was.
dude, the Red Bull was giving you wings, dude.
Ah, the wings. That's what it was.
Yeah. Red Bull gives you wings. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. That's such a iconic um saying there. Actually I haven't even really heard anybody really quote Red Bull too much, so I guess I can't say iconic, but it
I
still
will say
sounds
though, when I
yeah.
was in the military, like energy drinks were literally like water to these people, to where if you weren't drinking 2 energy drinks a day, you weren't a military person. And there was Red Bull available at the vending machines in like around the base. Monster was usually the go-to. Monster or Rain.
Okay. Monster
So
or Rain. I know Monster, I don't know Rain.
uh, it's spelled REIGN.
Okay.
It's way more newer than Monster is,
Oh,
but one of its biggest caveats, one of its biggest sellers, and it has almost no wait, not Rain, Bang. Excuse me, Bang.
okay.
Yeah, Bang has almost double the amount of caffeine that Monster has. It has
Oof.
300 milligrams in one can. To give you some context, 300 milligrams is like double your healthy daily intake. And I was seeing these people drink 2 to 3 a day.
Ah. How can
I
you
mean,
go about your day like that? It's
when you have to
crazy.
get up at 4 or 5 in the
Yeah.
morning,
Oh.
it understandable when you take the entire scope of it into account, because some of these people, they get home at 5, 6, 7, even 8 o'clock, and they have to get up at 4 in the morning the next day. They're mortified zombies at that point. They do their morning physical training, they eat their morning breakfast, and they're still zombies. They need something. They need some help.
Listen,
They need some help.
coffee is coffee. I'll stick to coffee. All right, that's it. I mean, I drink like
Coffee. There comes a time when coffee no longer does what it needs to do, and you need some more power.
yeah. Um, but yeah. So, but I was gonna say, so yeah, I definitely admire that you. I mean, you give your streams aesthetics, dude. Pretty good aesthetics. How like has anybody mentioned to you like, hey, I got an idea for a new PNG tuber? Like, has anybody brought that up with you? I think I've seen like,
Once that was actually the creation of this one, the dreaded one. That was one where
oh,
Minimod asked me for a base model
hmm,
of this one, and he edited my left arm down and added the little dreaded lines. So that was actually one where he offered to do it free of charge, and I was like, dude, I will pay you. And he's like, no, I'm doing this for
no.
free. And I was like, okay, man. And he handed me this one, and I was like, dude, this is actually really, really good. And I felt inclined to use it because it's a really great expression. Whenever I'm talking about, like hot takes or just like, what did you just say kind of things, it fits really well. But
Uh-huh.
that's probably the one and only time where a suggestion was popped out and it followed through.
Hmm, hmm. You know, yeah. Yeah, and like I said, the expressions are really good. Yeah. Uh in the lighting here too. Was the lighting supposed to like come from like the top down, or was it supposed to come from the
I did
back?
not give the creator any instructions on lighting. I basically handed her a PNG of a regular uh blue Yoshi, and I
Mhm.
gave her another image where it was like Yoshi doing like the rock on symbol with headphones, and I was like,
Uh,
combine these two, and that is all the instructions I gave her, and she pumped this out, and I was like,
okay.
this is perfect. This is
Hmm,
exactly what I wanted.
hmm, hmm. Yeah. Um wondering if yeah, I like if you're Shell, I'm wondering if like you're I got an idea though, like for your lighting though. What if like you had like maybe a 3-point light for your PNG tuber? Like you had one coming from the top, and then you'd have like one coming from the back side of your model, and then maybe like a fill light or something like that. Because I feel like that would make it even like it's pretty good, but I'm thinking it would make it even better. or just maybe have like a one
I've
point
never really
light?
worked with or like thought about extra lighting because when I made my lower, not my lower, but my low poly models, I ditched the idea of shading it all together because there's absolutely it's just a solid color with these guys.
Hmm.
So I have the normal model and then the angry model.
Hmm.
Uh, there there's still some things I need to adjust on the two, but I got rid of shading altogether just to see the difference.
Yeah.
And it really does make the image pop quite a bit more. So I do agree that shading does make an image pop. I just
Yeah.
wanted to see how it would look without it, and it does make it, kind of bland.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
bad, just a little bland.
It'd be really cool to see like the whole lighting just like coming down from the top of him, because I think that would be even better than it is right now. That'd be kind of cool.
It's like the only thing, like when you're mentioning this, the only thing that I can think of is like, remember when you were making like pictures when you were like 4 or 5 on paper, and you would just draw the sun as a like a quarter circle in the corner of your paper.
Something like that.
I visioned that as
Eh.
my lighting. It's just the corner, top corner of the paper. That's the sun.
Nah, that's the sun. Yeah. Oh
Don't
yeah.
give it too much thought. Just that little corner piece. Yeah, that's the sun. Good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah. Um, well, how do you balance life and streaming? Like, is it and like do you just have like do you just work your job, come home and do whatever, and then and then stream?
See, that's basically what it was because I stream 5 days a week and I work. Uh, it's not like one of those jobs where you work at like 7 in the morning and then you get off at like 5. Like I start work at 11 a.m. and I get off up until recently 7 p.m. But now I get off at 8 p.m. So the on the days I do stream, it's literally get up, get ready for work, go to work, come home, do the bare minimum. I'm talking like get home, get some sort of food in my body,
Hmm.
start streaming, end streaming, go to bed. There's nothing else in between because I work 8 hours a day. I stream the other 4 hours and I sleep the other 8. There's no time for anything else.
it it sounds like you need paid time off, you know.
There actually was an instance late last year where my employer was like, "Dude, you've got too much PTO. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it." So I took 2 weeks straight off. I'm like, "You told me to use it. I'm
Man,
gonna use it." So,
there
because
you go.
I don't usually take time off unless it's for like a scheduled event or anything because I don't have a whole lot going on in my life, which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy to think about because I'm actually the seventh child of 9 children that my parents had. So
Mm.
you would think a lot more is going on, but usually I can kind of schedule my schedule around it to make important events, which honestly don't happen very often. But it comes to a point where I'm not taking PTO because I'm not going on vacation, I'm not going to conventions or anything like that. So it just accrues up until my employer's like, take PTO or you will lose it. Okay,
Yeah.
boss man, you're the boss.
It's like you're the boss. Yeah. Yeah. I've always wanted
Because
to. Hmm.
if I'm not working, I'm not making money. And if I'm not making money, I'm not paying all the extravagant bills of living alone in a house in 2025.
Yeah.
Stuff's expensive. It's ridiculous at this point.
Super expensive, dude. Yeah. I've always had to like what my job just requires that I schedule PTO like 2 months in advance, and I'm like, well, I better get it in, otherwise I'm gonna be like, thanks for calling the tech desk, this is Devin speaking. It's like
Oh, I totally get those days. Absolutely. But thankfully, since I work at a basically a mom and pops, it's not even a mom and pops. It's singly owned by the owner, a video game store as a technician. Like I literally like 3 days ago, I walked up to the owner who is my boss, and I said, "Hey, I've had some back problems. I need to take 2 days off in conjunction with the 2 days off I usually have. So I'm gonna be off for 4 days." And he's like, you take what you need off, you come back when you're ready. I'm like, oh my God, I freaking love you. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Because when it comes to back injuries, it really takes quite a while to rejuvenate yourself and,
Yeah.
get yourself back up and running. because I was just sitting in my chair, doing what I do to fix consoles and controllers and computers, and I'm just in agony, just sitting and being in pain. Never in my life did I ever think that sitting down would be painful, but it was.
Yeah.
And thankfully,
Very.
I have an employer that is compassionate enough and understanding enough that will be like, "No, you're in pain. I'm not going to have you work for me while you're in pain." So I'm
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I have that kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And when your manager's like, hey, you gotta just take a break and then come back later, is like, okay, well, glad that glad he sees health as an important thing, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a benefit to it. Also, I'm very thankful for the position I'm in right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, so what is the most desirable thing that you want to happen as a streamer? I know most people would be like, oh, the numbers, but but aside from that, what do you want for your stream the most? Like, do you want like to add more sound effects? Do you want to add maybe more emojis, or
I
so on and
mean,
so
all of those
forth?
are always in my mind, but I think the biggest thing that probably a lot of people maybe don't think about, or probably not their goals, but I try to put myself into the aspect of a non-creator, because non-creators versus or outnumber creators probably like I'd probably say 200 to 1. So when it comes to the people of our demographic, 18 to 25 to 35-year-olds, they get home from work. What do they want to do? Do they want to sit down and read a book? Do they want to browse YouTube shorts or TikTok into oblivion? The doom scrolling. Um, I want to create a space that just like I could like for everybody who's in their middle age. I wouldn't say middle age, the young adult life, to be like, I get to come home and chill out with this blue Yoshi, crack some jokes, enjoy some games, and just have a great time. A nice cozy place to end their day. They can pop in when they want. They can pop out what they want. That's what I want for my stream. I want my corner of Twitch to just be like that cozy place where you can pop in and relax, engage
Yeah.
if you want to, or just kind of lurk if you need to. That's
Yeah,
my goal.
and just create like we mentioned earlier, create that nice peaceful environment with a nice light purple background and your other nice
Simple
aesthetics.
and welcoming. That's
Yeah,
that's what I want.
yeah, yeah, and that's a really good thing to have. I think that's a really good uh good motivation there. That's a very good motivation, and I think pretty much everybody should have that. And so I think that's good. Um, Yeah, I've always wanted, what I want is, okay, so, of course I want to keep growing everybody's Smash skills and whatnot. I still got that going. And, I'm happy that I got, all of my aesthetics as well, and all the graphics that I made. But
Hmm.
what would be interesting is, just, wouldn't it be interesting to have somebody, like anybody on YouTube, like make like a documentary of your streaming, and like they make like all these maybe it could be like a documentary style um observation or speculation on like why you're doing certain things, or why you have like certain graphics, why is your demographic this and that, you know that would be just kind of interesting to
Um,
see what like runs through their head. I mean, you're gonna get the critics too, but
right.
yeah,
But I,
but
I view it from a little more of a, I wouldn't say an observation standpoint, but like if that were to happen to me, the big if, but I would feel like, say that happens to me and someone evaluates what I'm doing, they're putting 10 times the amount of thought into their product than I do for my streams. My things are very minimalistic. I'm not trying to win you over with aesthetics or
yeah,
things like that. I just want this to be a nice, cozy place. I'm not doing things to wow you or to invite you. I'm just doing what comes natural to me to invite you into my little corner. And if a documentary about me happens, that'd be great. That'd be cool. Maybe I could even, give some insight, kind of like how you're doing a get to know me. But I want to let you know there's really very basics about me. There's not a whole lot behind the scenes that I'm doing that like, oh, I'm micromanaging all my things. I want to make sure all my Twitch alerts and everything is perfect and is inviting and all. No, it's very laid back. It's kind of like, you ever have that section in school where it's like in the corner of the library after school hours and they just kind of do their own thing, study session, and everybody pitches in here, there, and they just kind of make it a welcoming environment. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So an evaluation or a some sort of I guess oversight uh of what I do on Twitch would be interesting. In all honesty, I think it'd be kind of unneeded, but again, interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. I think everybody would be different in that aspect because like you see people talk about like top level esports players and stuff like that
Mhm.
and um I've seen a little bit of those videos, especially like Amza on in Smash Melee. He was
It's funny you bring him up. I was actually very infatuated with Yoshi probably 2 years before I even knew who Amsa was.
mhm.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, will see that I main Yoshi in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and they're like, "Oh, you must be a big Amsa fan." I'll be like, "Truthfully, dude, I've been maining Yoshi a year and a half before I even knew the dude who the dude was." So
Yeah.
it's funny you bring him up because a lot of people bring him up in my presence, especially on that topic completely. But I think it's again, he never. I don't think he ever did it for the fame or the glory. From because I did look through his
I
story,
don't think he did.
and it's never for the fame or glory. It's
No.
just to play the best that he can with a
Right.
character he loves.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right. No, I mean, when I was looking at like videos about him, he was there's no way he was the kind of guy who's like, I want to get popular. Like you said, he's just doing his thing and whatnot, and then people were like, oh, that's kind of cool, and especially when it won that one tournament. And so yeah, that was really really cool. Um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, it would just be interesting, like having people go, "Oh yeah, he's doing this and that and the other because of X, Y, and Z." But I think everybody's probably different in that aspect. Some of them probably don't even care. But yeah, I mean, just kind of depends on the person. What do you wish people like knew more about your Twitch channels or your Twitch streams?
What would I want more people to know about it?
Yeah.
That I've got a lot of stories to tell.
Okay.
Like I have two redeems that give you Marine Corps fun facts and Marine Corps stories. Because I could go on for days about this stuff. Because there's a lot of civilians who don't know what military life is like and either are too scared or are not invested enough to learn about. So if they just have a quick little question like, "Oh, hey, I heard you're military. How does this thing work out?" And I could go on a tangent on that. And I think just educating the masses about military life could either encourage them or unencourage them because again, the military is not for everybody, but it's better to get the masses knowledgeable
Hmm.
about military life because it's a far cry from civilian life and like normal managers and bosses and knowing what goes on because I know there are so many people on the fence to be like, do I want to join the military? Because don't get me wrong, the recruiters are there to do their job to recruit you, but you know they're gonna sugarcoat it. They're gonna tell you what you want to know, tell you what you think you're gonna get, and you're not gonna get it. And every step of the way, you're gonna be like, man, my recruiter lied to me. Oh, X, Y, and Z lied to me. I'm gonna tell you, at least in my perspective, how it is. So that would either encourage the people who do want to join up or discourage people who are on the fence looking for a way out.
Yeah. Yeah. I like honesty. I think honesty is a great thing to have.
Absolutely. Without honesty, our society would collapse. And we're kind of on the verge of that right now, in all honesty. Not getting too political, but it can get pretty crazy when you're not transparent enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What is something that people misunderstand about you most as a
Yep.
streamer?
Misunderstand about me most. Um, that's a really good question. I never thought about that. You know what? Probably the biggest thing is, even though I portray myself as a Yoshi, I am a complete fake Yoshi fan. I've probably played out of like maybe the 20 games that have existed that are like all about Yoshi, I've maybe played 6 of them. So
Okay.
I am not a Yoshi fanatic when it comes to like, oh, everything Yoshi I absorb and spit out, kind of like how the Sonic fandom does. It's
Yeah.
just I admire the character for who he is. I don't consume everything Yoshi.
Nah. I don't think you really have to be a fanatic, to be honest. I like the last Yoshi game that I played was Yoshi's Woolly World, and that was 2014. I'm like, I played, I think almost towards the end, and then after a bit, I was like, okay, yeah, this is maybe a little bit for a younger audience, pretty much.
I mean,
Um,
that's kind of been the standpoint. I think back in the SNES era, that was back when Yoshi, I would believe to say, hit its peak for gameplay for all ages
yeah,
versus, kind of like how Kirby games are. I mean, I can't say for all Kirby games, but most Kirby games are for the younger audience, bright colors and flashy things, but there are some semi-recent Kirby games that kind of really hit the mark for most gamers. It's inviting for all. It's not just like, oh, this is a child's game. No, it's like this is a good game with good uh, storytelling, excuse me, and good gameplay. Sometimes Kirby hits the mark, and most other times it's like, oh, this is a children's game, but not like a infant child learning game. It's just like this is meant for probably people 9 and younger.
yeah.
I
I've
I feel like
always
Kirby and Yoshi
felt,
together kind of
yeah,
fall into that category in recent years.
I've always felt like Yoshi's Island 64 was not it felt a lot more family friendly than it did for a younger audience. Um,
That was a Yoshi story for the 64, and I totally agree with you. It's one of those games where it's like it can get challenging depending on which route you take, but it's also not discouraging for the non-gamer, big air quotes, non-gamer players.
yeah. Oh yeah. If he had a oh no, that's a question. No, never mind. I'm not gonna ask that one. But so when you I'm gonna get into a little bit of the darker questions now. So
Oh no, we're
oh
going back
man.
to the curveballs.
Uh-oh. We gotta change my lights, and now we gotta make it fit the dark thing. No, I'm just kidding. But
We're going into the dungeon,
the
baby.
dungeon. Yes. All right. But um so if you so say you have a chatter in your stream, and they're being kind of subtle about like really wanting to make sure that they take down like they discourage every single member from like joining your streams. Like, how do you deal with that?
Um, I'd probably say if it was like one stream where it was just like don't join this guy. Let's say he was like this guy's a fake Yoshi fan, he's doing his thing, being like, let's say I don't have any of those like automated like join my Discord like Nightbot integrations. But if he was actively discouraging people to join my community, I probably would give him a message, if not two, before I banned him. Because when it comes to like we said before, I'm all about trying to create a welcoming environment, and if people are trying to hinder that, that's not the vibe we're trying to do here. So I'm like, like in my mind I'd be like, hey, straight up, you're ruining the vibe I'm trying to create here. And if one person's going to do that and I let it slide, might as well everybody diss me to be like, hey, this guy's not someone you should follow, don't join his Discord, don't join his, you're gonna get walked all over. So not to be like first offense ban, but you got to be like, I give you one, two maybe, but at the third time you're out of here. And I'm not gonna review your things if you try to challenge it. No, you were disrespectful to me. I'm not gonna be respectful to you. It's
Okay.
kind of like a aspect of like, you and I were both people. I will give you the respect that a newcomer deserves, but if you're gonna throw that respect in my face, I'm sorry, dude. You're out of here. You're gonna take me for granted. I'm not gonna take you as a guy that deserves, or a person, excuse me, that deserves leniency. You're out.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Critics really don't stand a chance.
I mean,
Uh,
hey, if it's constructive to be like, oh, hey, this person, like, I can get a little bit more personal. Like, it's no secret that I drink when I stream. I am not a sober Yosh, as it very is clearly. But if someone were to point out like, hey, this dude drinks a lot, I'd be like, hey, that's kind of pinpointing, but he's not inaccurate. That's where I would be a little bit more be like, hey, I understand that's what I do, but it's not inaccurate, so I'd give him like maybe a half pass. So someone who's pointing out my flaws, but they're true, kind of a thing. Not belittling me, not slandering me, just being like, hey, this dude gets drunk on stream a couple times and it's kind of noticeable. I'll be like, okay, you know what? You're right. You got me there.
yeah. Oh yeah. No,
So
no
if they're pointing out my
belittling.
flaws that I'm actively doing and like I'm actively and knowingly doing them, then that's fine. You know, I make these decisions because that's what I do. So those are a lot more like those are not like the one and dones, like I said previously. Those are more like, hey, this is what you're getting into, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's your biggest fear in streaming?
Biggest fear in streaming that I say something that I can't take back. There
Yes.
are have been plethora of content creators that say something in the moment, and with technology as fascinating and terrifying as it is today, something can clip a moment in time in your live stream, and you will have to live with that for as long as it exists. With the internet is forever. So one of the biggest things is if I say something or do something that I could never recover from. Like there are many things that you can definitely redeem yourselves for. There have been
Hmm.
many content creators that have said or done things, I won't name specifics, but they can come back and be like, hey, I said that in the heat of the moment. I identified that that was very, very wrong of me. I'm sorry. My emotions got the best of me, or my this got the best of me. And let's like, I will better myself. That I'm not worried about. I'm worried about saying something that I cannot recover from.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is my biggest fear because if that day ever happens where that happens to me, I can just kind of mark my content creation days over unless I start completely new with a whole new identity. And that's really disheartening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, starting over is never fun. Starting over is
It's
just like it's double the effort of what you already have done in the past.
Well, it's not only just starting new, but it's starting new, but you also can't associate with your previous crowd
Yeah.
because they can just be like, "Hey, remember that thing in your past account?" You kind of have to veer so far away from what you did. It's like you're not even the same content creator anymore, and that kind of puts the fear of God in me to be like, if you want to continue to be a content creator, you have to divulge yourself so far from what you're currently doing. It's like, are you even the same content creator anymore? I would argue no.
Yeah. What was the biggest mistake you've made, and what did you learn from it on stream?
The biggest mistake I made. Uh, hmm. Probably this has happened to me a multitude of times where I go further. Like, don't get me wrong, I know I drink a lot and I drink a lot when I'm streaming, but it's like when I don't cut myself off early, like there's like different levels of intoxication where one, they're kind of slipping up their words, but it's not too noticeable. Then it's they're slurring their words, and then it's like to the point where like if I were to look back on my VOD, it'd be like that last hour and a half, I do not remember at all. That has happened to me probably about 15 times. And I'm like, I probably should have cut the stream short an hour and a half ago before I did end it. Because I'm like, I'm listening to my VOD, which I do from time to time
Yeah.
because yeah, I don't have a whole lot of chatters in my stream that clip my own things. So I try to clip it on my own time. I work in IT, so I'm working on consoles, unscrewing all these things, and I have an earpiece in to be like, what can I clip? What can I make as content as a clip to put to Discord or to TikTok? And then when I near the end of my streams, I was like, oh wow, I was so far out of it. I'm like, oh, I said that. Oh fuck, I said oh. It's happened to me on multiple occasions. So
Hmm.
um probably my biggest mistake is not cutting myself off live wise before I say something I might regret.
Yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah, I know. Probably. what was even my biggest mistake? Like, I kind of said this last stream, and I was trying to think of like another thing. Another darn, like I was trying to think of something else to kind of like mix it up a little bit, but I mean it's still kind of true, but people are actually starting to use the sound effect a little bit more now, which is great. But one time, or I guess if maybe a few times, we'll say a few times, because but um so we had the Team Fortress pan sound effect, which one I'm talking about.
I think so. I played Team Fortress after like maybe 2 matches because when I first downloaded it, this was like way after its heyday. Both rounds I played, nobody was playing the objective. They were just doing their own thing, which I've now learned is par for the course for Team Fortress 2. I was like, what am I even playing anymore? And I immediately uninstalled the game. So I was like, yeah, TF2 is not for me.
There's
But I think
a
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, there's a sound effect where there's a pan that just like sounds like it's hitting you like right in the head or something like that.
Kind
And
of like
so
the metal pipe hitting the ground kind of a thing, but if it's a one doink kind of a
yeah, it's a
sound.
one doink. Yeah, that's what it is. And so yeah, one day I decided, because I was playing along every other time that people kept like using the sound effect on me, and that you hear dung 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 dung, and it's like, and so I pretend like I actually got hit or something like that. And then one time I said, "Guys, why are you committing streamer abuse, man? Like, what's going on?" And then immediately people stopped using that pan hitting sound effect, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I should not
You
have
killed
said."
off your best redeem.
Yeah, I did that, and I'm there, and now everybody felt guilty, and I'm like, "Great."
But
So
that's that gray line you have to you dance with your audience
yeah,
because there are some chatters or audience members that like to lightly abuse the streamer.
yeah.
But once you step over that threshold where your chat's like, "Oh, I'm actually causing him mild discomfort," they're like, "Okay, we're gonna back off." You're like, "No, I was only playing the bit. I played too far into it."
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like you gotta know where that line is, and you don't actually want to like step over that line, and people take it the wrong way, and they think, so is there something behind that streamer abuse thing? Something happened there, and then they think that maybe there's
Yeah, that's
truth
when
to
it
that
calls into
joke.
question. Yeah,
Yeah,
it calls into question. Be like, am I actually abusing you because you brought it up now? And you're like, damn, this is not what I wanted. Let's backpedal, but it's already too far. It's too late.
yeah. I think so. And then I know I think another uh, big thing that I've done too is I mean, we've all struggled with audio at the beginning of our streaming
Oh,
career, right?
don't I know it?
Yeah.
Literally, audio is like one of the things that I probably still struggle with today. It's
Yeah.
honestly like with the peaks and the lows and the equalizers and limiter. It's a nightmare. I swear to God.
There's a lot of components that go and filters that go into it. And so one of the things that I figured out, and this wasn't like a huge mistake, it was just, okay, now the volume's a little inconsistent, so I got to turn my volume up as the viewer. And so like I didn't have an upwards compressor. And so so sometimes I'd be talking really quiet, and you couldn't really hear it too well because the music in the background was still playing despite the audio ducking functioning like normal, but yet you couldn't hear me. So I was like, okay, how do I solve that? And then finally I was like, oh, here's an upward compressor. Is that like the opposite of a regular compressor? And I found it was. So
One
um
of the other things, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
that's
another
fine.
thing is that a lot of microphones, when you plug them into your PC, they
Yeah.
don't actually operate at 100%, and you have
Oh
to manually adjust it within your control panel.
yeah, that's most microphones. Yeah. Which
Yeah, so it's like if people like try to plug and play their microphones and they try to only adjust it within OBS, it's like first, hold on, before you adjust anything in OBS, go to your control panel and turn your microphone all the way to 100% because you don't want to artificially boost your microphone if your microphone's only working at 50%. So it's like let's not add adjusters when your microphone has more to offer.
yeah. Yeah, and in the first year of my streaming career, I remember I was like I didn't have too many filters. I had the noise gate, and then I had the noise filter, the other noise filter suppressor, and so I needed it too because I had a condenser mic, not a dynamic mic at the time, and so like sometimes because my father and I would be in the same room sometimes, and we were in his sunroom, which was our office, and so yeah,
Don't even get me started on that. But yeah, please continue.
oh
I'll tell you
yeah,
my side later.
oh yeah, dude, no, for real, like our it was so that's all I had. But then sometimes he would still hear my father in the background, like talking to one of his colleagues or his manager or
Mhm.
whoever. And so I'm like, dude, I gotta mute this audio, and because you don't want all
Right.
that
The
stuff on there.
interference really messes with the feng shui of it all.
Yeah, right. And so that was something that I had to learn how to like get rid of, and then finally I was like, okay, let's get this dynamic mic because it'll pick up a lot less of the background noise, and it really did. Like you could still hear, if anything, you could still hear just a little bit of my father, but you couldn't make out what he was saying this time.
Yeah,
Um,
the barely breaking the threshold kind of a thing, where it
y-
peaks the lows just enough to activate the microphone, but you
yeah,
can't understand him.
yeah, yeah.
Like I
Um,
had the same problem back when I lived with my parents, but my father was in the next room, but he's really hard at hearing, so he has the TV up so loud. And whenever he's watching football games, I'm gonna try to simulate this as best as I can with the microphone I've got. But you'd be like, oh, I'd be in the middle of a video game, and all of a sudden, give me a second, you just hear in the background.
I couldn't
I don't
hear
know
it
if my
much.
mic, yeah, like just enough for it to peak and be like, oh, looks like someone's having fun in the other room.
Yeah, right.
It's just enough to pick him up, but it's just like I'd be like, yes, my dad's watching football and his team just scored or something like that.
Yeah. Or have you ever had like those moments in stream where like you'll be streaming and then one of your parents like walks in the background of your webcam and you're like, oh, and I used to have a hallway in the background, right?
Dude,
Um,
same. But
yeah,
thankfully, back at that time, I was a PNG tuber, so you couldn't see anything.
yeah.
But I've had my friend like literally visit me while I was live streaming and just kind of chat. So my audience could hear him just fine. I could hear him just fine, but he's literally right beside me, just chatting away. So my PNG tuber would activate while he's talking to me, but you would hear a different voice come out of the Yoshi. So it's
Yeah.
just like, oh,
This Yoshi
Jesus
has
Christ.
two voices.
I'm multi vocal corded.
Yeah, or something like that. Or maybe your Yoshi was just voice acting. He's practicing his voice acting skills.
Exactly. I'm a
Yeah.
hillbilly from Kansas.
Yeah. Dude, man, thankfully, okay, and thankfully this is gonna sound kind of weird, but like thankfully when one of my family members walked in, he was dressed and everything, but he's come down and like not dressed, and I'm like, oh
Oh,
man,
oh
like
no.
that almost
Oh
happened
no.
too on one stream, and I'm like, uh-oh. So
How to get canceled 101.
how to get canceled? Yeah, like it's a little bit of a, yeah, anyway, but I won't get into that. But like that's, yeah, just being careful about things like that. That's actually one of the reasons why my webcam, it used to be the it used to have an angle like a medium shot like it is now, just a little bit wider from the right side, on my right side, and I decided let's go ahead and put it over here for few different reasons. One, because of that, and two, because um, it made it look more like I had a personal space. So
Yeah, it's got like your own little corner. I actually when I was back in the barracks still streaming with my webcam, I actually turned my desk around to kind of pinch myself against the back wall. So I had a backdrop so nobody walking to the side of me could be seen. So
oh
I
yeah,
definitely understand like the camera, I wouldn't say manipulation, but positioning to kind of insinuate that you got a little cubicle slash
yeah,
corner to yourself.
yeah, yeah, you hit the nail on the donkey. um and so let's when you're watching other streams, okay, you as a viewer, and most people are going to say that they absolutely do not like toxicity, and that's, I think every streamer hates that for good reason, but besides toxicity as being least favorite thing. Like, what are your favorite and least favorite things that appear within somebody else's stream?
Most loved things when it comes to watching somebody like, let's say when we're talking about gaming, because that's usually what I tune into. It's when someone is playing a game that I love, and like I this is like such a beloved game of my childhood, my past, and this is their first time playing it. It gives me all the joys of experiencing the game for the first time again, but through someone else's eyes. And when they're like, "Oh, what do I do here? What is this person doing? And what does they mean?" And I can interact with the streamer and be like, "This is this person." It's kind of like, I would say like the bare bones of like being in a relationship and you're showing your partner your favorite movie and she's asking a gazillion questions and you're so happy to answer all of them.
Basically, like, get to know that person.
All right, so
Yeah.
they're experiencing the game for the first time. They're playing a game that is so near and dear to your heart due to, exposure over the years, but they're not getting it, and you kind of like walking them through, like those streamers that allow backseat gaming. I love that. Absolutely love it because it allows me to help them through a core childhood game of my past.
Oh
So
yeah.
I love helping people experience the game for the first time. I love that.
Oh, I had to do that.
Something I hate. Oh, um, when you follow someone because they're doing X, Y, and Z, and then 6 months down the line,
Hello
they
there.
never do that again and they transition to something else that you dislike. To give a brief example, there was an individual who I followed because they were uh, not well versed in many games. So they weren't exactly a gamer. So it was kind of like they're experiencing quite a few games for the first time. And I love that about them. So I could kind
Yeah.
of like walk them through it, teach them the secrets, to be like, "Oh, did you know?" kind of things. And then they got into ASMR, and I'm like, I really hate ASMR.
Oh
It's
yeah.
I don't get tingled like I'm supposed to with ASMR. And then when they did ASMR and their numbers spiked from like 10 to 20 to the hundreds, and they just went full tunnel vision down ASMR, I'm like, man, I lost my favorite streamer.
Yeah.
It was really disheartening because while their humor, while their idealisms, while everything else was there, their content changed to something I disliked, and that's what I hate. When people find something that works and ditch everything else.
Oh yeah. Like, they just ditched this very thing that you followed them for,
Right.
basically.
That's what I followed them for. And when they
Yeah.
found something like, don't get me wrong, chasing the hype, chasing the algorithm, half of the time that's what content creators have to do. But when they just ditch everything that they've built themselves up to, it's like they had 400 or 500 followers at that time, but then they went from 500 to 5,000 in a month or two, and they just disregard the initial 500. It kind of felt a little bit of like a betrayal.
Oh yeah. And don't you hate it when, like, streamers kind of sort of bounce off what you said, just stop responding to you, like they seem like they're really interested in knowing about you, and then like they just totally like shut the door on you, or something, like the communication door on you or something weird like that, and you're like,
I don't
dude.
think I've ever experienced that firsthand when it comes to like the streamer versus chatter mentality because I've never really like gotten engaged with a streamer that had probably more than 25 viewers at a time. One of my biggest complaints, it's probably going to land me a little bit of hot water,
Hmm,
but when a streamer refers to chat as chat, I instantly leave
hmm,
because it's not like, "Hey chat, what do you think of this?" No, it's the individual interactions that I
yeah.
love because again, with my cozy corner that I'm trying to produce,
Hmm,
it's no longer like, oh, you guys are an audience in the corner that I'm like, hey, Chad, what do you think of this? Now I'll be like, yo, Devin, what do you think of this? Hey, Rock, what do you think of this? Or Echo. Like I'm chatting to individuals, and the moment if I ever get to a point where I have to uh address my chat as chat, I got to take a step back because I've lost that individuality.
hmm,
It's no
yeah.
longer me and you, it's me and y'all. And I hate that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I see your point. Yeah, because like if yeah, because you want it to be a personable experience, and it's like you want that connection kind of thing. It sounds like.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
connections between a streamer and their chatters are I wouldn't say unbreakable, but it's a nice connection to have. Because it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, I go live and 100 messages are just blowing through my chat and I can't read a single one of them because it's a blink and you'll miss it kind of things. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, let's have a conversation. Oh, this guy wants to chime in. Let's add him to our conversation. And it's not just like your comment goes by and it gets missed and you have to type 15 comments before your comment gets read once. That's just a
Yeah.
pain. It feels like you're shouting at a crowd and you want to get the attention of the band on stage, which I totally get. When they're famous, when they have an audience, it's hard to get their attention.
It is.
I don't want that kind of fame. I don't.
Yeah.
I want to build connections, and
Yeah.
that's my biggest goal.
I knew a streamer one time, and so the streamer first few times he's actually pretty well known, but his chat wasn't even like going by all that fast. I mean, it was just like a casual chat that he was responding to. But I was one of those guys for like maybe two times being on that stream, and then after that, he just completely stopped talking directly to me, and I was like, "Dude, my messages are right here. Read off my messages, you know." And I like it when people say this might sound really self-absorbed, I'm guessing, but I like it when people say my name on their stream, and because I feel like, oh, hey, you know, he's paying attention to me, and I
Because
kind of like it.
he's
Yeah.
talking directly to you
Yeah,
because he's
yeah,
addressing you. I feel that
exactly.
100% in my soul.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and then when he like totally stops acknowledging you and stuff like that, you're like, come on, dude, just so I think he stopped on purpose, but you know, you never know. Like it could have just been a little incident. So, but who
Yeah.
knows?
One of the best examples I would probably say is Yoshi Phoenix. So his chat can get pretty crazy at times, but sometimes he has to catch back up. But that's the thing I love about Phoenix is that he takes the time to scroll back up his chat and directly address comments that not every comment, but comments that probably should be addressed. So yeah, he kind of gets caught up with his chatting segments, but it shows me that he cares about the people who chat in his chat. He wants to address everybody that chats to him. He doesn't want any comment to go unnoticed because the people from what I see of his chatters and how he responds to them because he cares. That shows me that he cares. He doesn't want to blow off anybody, even if that or their chat got buried beneath 20 more. He'll take the time to scroll up to be like, all right, what have I not addressed? And that shows me that he cares. That's why I love Phoenix as I would say, semi-popular, I'd say semi, uh, streamer who's got sometimes his chat can go a little bit crazy, but he takes the time to read all of the messages and address the ones that need to be addressed. That's why
Is
I like Phoenix.
is he Phoenix? Is he's the golden Yoshi with the wings, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
the fiery winged
yeah.
one, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he can get caught chatting for sometimes 2 hours, sometimes even longer. But it's because I see that he takes the time to read all the chats that people send him, even if they get buried. He takes the time to address the ones that need to be addressed. And if it's a quick little like a lol or an emoji, he passes by them because they're meant to dignify from the chatter to the streamer of what they said. So those don't need to be addressed. But the ones that do need to be addressed, he takes the time to read and respond to them. And that's why I like Phoenix really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and we'll move into this gaming specific questions, and we'll make the segment just a little bit shorter, just a tiny little bit. And so I was watching some of your clips, and now I'll be honest, like for me personally, I know like RuneScape, you know, it has its audience, and I know you've played some RuneScape before, and so you
Mm-hmm.
know, like the theme, it might not be my own cup of tea, but I like the variety of games that you stream, and I saw. about a year ago you were playing Tears of the Kingdom, which is I was playing that game a year ago too, I think, actually, now that I think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the game only came out like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, a year and a half ago. Yeah. And so dude, I saw your clip of when you first saw you encountered the gloom hands, and I remember you were going, oh my gosh, what is this nonsense, like, and you're just like
Dude,
running
those
away.
things freaked me the fuck out because nothing like that was in Breath of the Wild. But I was like, I'm ready to take a challenge, and I saw I was doing no damage to them. I'm like, I should probably get the frick out of Dodge.
Yeah, it's just like and it's
So
like, man,
it's one
yeah.
of those things where it's like I'm not instantly gonna run away, but like I shot an arrow or two. I'm like, these guys are probably out of my league. Let's get the fuck out of here. But I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna leave without my treasure. God forbid I went through that goddamn maze. Give me my goddamn treasure.
I loved
Then
how
I'll
you
nope out of there.
I loved how you like reacted after the fact. You're like, oh, okay, get out here, get
Woo!
out here. Oh man.
Yeah, you got to get your adrenaline back down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because that reminded me of this montage of different people reacting to different gloom hands. And so like if I had the link to it, I bet you I could send you the link, because it was so golden seeing everybody's reactions. Oh my gosh.
I bet you there's a wide variety of reactions to those glue hands because they come out of nowhere with no explanation, and it's only until you face them head on do you kind of understand why they're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
For
you have to
real.
understand that was probably like after I left the Skyland Plateau. I probably encountered those hands after maybe I'd say 6 hours of gameplay. So I was not equipped. I did not have the weapons. I did not have the health to deal with those guys. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to die in this basement with no hopes of return. It's like that one basement, almost of the same variety after you get to the maze and you drop down below, and then like 15 guardians lock on you, and you're like, oh, I've made a mistake. Oh, no, 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 no. Get me out of here.
Oh man, right? Yeah. And another funny thing, okay, is I noticed, like, as I was watching that clip, I saw your PNG YouTuber with his hand pointing like this. It was almost like he was going, look, he can't face these guys off. Like, look at him just run.
That was one of
Like,
the reasons I got rid of the hand because it's just kind of sitting there.
it just gave off the wrong vibe.
No, yeah, it was there, and I was just like,
Yeah.
how about I just scoot that? Let me retract my right hand just a smidge.
Just a smidge, yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Like at the perfect time, man. It was oh man, the message it sent was great.
I had a lot of great times with Tears of the Kingdom. I kind of want to replay it, but I did. Other than the Korok seeds, I did technically 100% it. So it's kind of like I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, they actually got quite a bit of updates from here there from the last like couple of months, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe it did. I haven't played it in like a while. I always thought like the idea of like gods of like linking using a god's hand. I don't know, like, it's Link is Zelda's a little bit of a spiritual game, but it's just like, if it was a god, he wouldn't make any mistakes. But
Yeah,
I
you get a
yeah.
little too spiritual when you think about it. That absolutely.
Yeah, and there's like some other moral things. I believe there's only one of those people, and
Yeah,
um
you get the whole scripture, that giant
yeah,
paragraph. They'd be like, "I believe in God the Father Almighty." Yeah, you
yeah,
can you can get really really tunnel visioned when you think in absolutes like that. But there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
yeah. But oh, excuse me, first time this podcast. But yes, so I say that because like every podcast is um a little
Totally
weird with
understandable.
that. Yeah, but what was I gonna ask? So pretty much out of the variety of streams of games that you play on stream, which one is your favorite?
It's got to be Monkey Mondays. I think I've created something because it's actually a crazy idea of how this all started because It all started with me playing Donkey Kong 64, and I was just playing it. I wasn't even playing it on Mondays back then because it took me, I want to say, like 7 streams to 101% complete the game because I was just playing it because DK64 is one of my childhood favorites. I wanted to replay it and 100% complete it. I don't think it was until like the fourth or fifth stream where I was like, monkeys and Mondays. So it wasn't until like the tail end of that where I was like, Donkey Kong Country. I've played maybe 10 minutes of this Donkey Kong Country, 5 minutes of that one. I never experienced the Donkey Kong Country game. So I was like, once I was like getting to the tail end of DK64, I was like, monkeys experiencing the Donkey Kong Country games, but making it a staple of Monday. And that's what created Monkey Mondays. So many people in my community kind of look forward to Monkey Mondays because it
Yeah.
started with Donkey Kong and now we're at Ape Escape. There are a lot of people that really look forward to my Monkey Monday streams. So I
Yeah.
love that to pieces.
You
The
know,
second favorite would be my Sunday streams, my game
okay.
suggestion streams, the games that people recommend to me that I probably have not played or probably would have never played had it not gotten recommended to me. So I get to be the person that it gets to experience a game for the first time, and then the suggester gets to kind of like walk me through if they want to in VC or chat so they can experience a first time playthrough through somebody else. I think those are my two favorite streams, Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just about to. I was actually about to mention Ape Escape too. Yeah, I saw some of those streams, and they were pretty good actually. Well, actually, they are good. And so, which one is your favorite? Because I know you played three of them,
Yep,
the mainline
I'm
ones.
halfway through Ape Escape 3. I want to say when it comes to innovation, one has got to be the taker of it because Ape Escape 1 was actually the first game to incorporate the DualShock controller that needed the joysticks because before then the PS1 controller was the excuse me, the D-pad only. Ape Escape was actually the first game that required the joysticks.
I actually remember that as a very little kid, and how like most games would use the D-pad instead of the sticks, like you said. And I think I remember Mega Man Legends. I don't know if you've played that game.
I haven't.
Um, you haven't? Oh, it was a
No, I don't think
great
I've
game.
played a single
It
Mega
was a
Man
great
game.
game.
Hey, you should recommend that.
Yeah, I should. Yeah,
But
I'm.
one of the biggest things when it comes to like Ape Escape, like if you never played Ape Escape and you got introduced to the control of L3 and R3, most games I've played just assumed you knew what it was. They didn't graphically show you that pressing the control stick down was L3 and R3. Ape Escape did do that because they had to. It was the first game that ever required you to push the stick down, and they visibly, with a graphic on screen, showed you L3 and R3 is clicking the stick down. I have
Yeah,
never seen a game before or after that showed that. It just said L3 or R3, and you had to figure it out.
yeah. Yeah, and I gotta say, Ape Escape was really ahead of its time. Like all three games were just like super ahead of their time. Like,
Absolutely.
and
Very great masterpieces of their time.
I feel like nobody ever talks about Ape Escape, and I'm like, is it? It must be like the unsung hero or something like that, Like, or
I want to say that they would probably fall into the underdog category where like
yeah,
they made their mark in history and the people that know them understand and appreciate what they did for society, or at least in a gaming society, but it's also like people who don't know about it don't understand the impact that it had at that
yeah.
time.
Because it had a lot of freaking impact. I mean, even just
Absolutely.
like Ape Escape 2, man, we were looking at like all these for their time of really good camera angles and camera shaking and stuff, which like no other video game had, as far as I remember, at the
Trust me,
time.
that was the era of like 2002 to like 2005. Camera angle was like the biggest detriment of 3D games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ape Escape did it very well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Ape Escape was. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean I hope I hope that the game developers and the animators and so on and so forth, man, I hope they really got promoted to being a man to in the management team, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because
There was actually one thing I noticed. I know this is a really big off topic. Well, it's kind of on topic. Do you know the Shinobi run that kind of got popular during the Area 51 invasion, quote unquote meme thing? The Naruto
no.
run where you're kind of like leaning forward with your arms behind you as you sprint.
I've heard of the Naruto run, but not.
Basically, if you've ever watched Naruto, I'm guessing you haven't, but when the shinobi, which are the name of the ninjas in Naruto, were running at top speed, they're basically running almost like their legs are doing the normal run, but they're almost perpendicular with the ground. So they're leaning forward quite a bit with their arms basically behind them, like in the wind, just kind of doing that thing. And that was basically known as the Naruto run because it was very prominent in the anime Naruto. But there was Spike in the main character of Ape Escape 1 who basically did the exact same pose with this little hula hoop that allowed him to run
uh
faster. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, it's the Naruto run. But then I looked at the dates. I was like, when did Naruto air and when did Ape Escape air? Ape Escape was first.
Oh,
So it's not the Naruto run, it's the Spike run.
it's the spike run. Oh man. Okay, the more you know. Wow.
It's just a little even though it's probably just a coincidence, it's a nice little headcanon that I like to have.
Yeah. I mean it sounds like that's when you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, they must be running like Marth if you're going all the way forward like this, but with their hands behind their back.
Yeah, it's
Um
like imagine Marth in his sprint,
yeah.
but he's more bending at the waist than he is leaning his whole body parallel to the ground.
Yeah.
He's straight up and down from the toes to the hips, but he's bending at the waist, whereas Marth is kind of like leaning all the way forward.
Yeah. Dude, how do people run like that?
They don't. That's
They
not how
don't.
physics works.
Exactly.
You can't run with your waist a good 8 inches in front of the center mass of your body. That's not how gravity works.
Yeah, right. What's funny is when I was I went through this weird season. I don't even know how this happened, but when I was a kid, we used to play football in the neighborhood. It wasn't real football, like no real teams,
Yeah,
but
it's like a good like backyard football.
yeah, backyard football, sometimes on the street. And so I remember I went through this weird season where I'd be running, and then as I'm running, for some weird reason, my body just like starts shifting towards like more and more forward. And so um I don't know why I was doing that. Even as a kid, I was like, why am I running like this? And so I've had a couple of moments where thankfully, like, and we were on the street, but thankfully, I would land, I would fall on the grass, right?
Right.
And so, and my friends were like, dude, why are you running like that? I said, I don't know. It was,
Like you've got the right idea, but you were just compensating too much because
yeah,
if your center of mass is in front of where your next step is, technically that would give you a forward, I would say, I wouldn't say momentum to where like your feet are forced to continue moving forward lest you fall on the ground. But if you lean too far forward, that's when you fall down.
yeah,
So it's your center of mass forcing your legs to go back under the center of mass, which allows you to go forward with your body weight kind of propelling you, but from the front due to gravity, not by like a thrust, but due to like a balance imbalance, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
It's like I was trying to do the spike run.
It's like you ever hold a nice like a long stick upwards and it leans to the right. So to compensate it, you have to walk to the right to get back under the center of mass. It's
Yeah,
kind of like that. You're shifting your center of mass forward, which forces your legs to move faster to get back under the center of mass. It's literally like run faster or you will face plant kind of a aspect.
yeah, yeah. Well, moving on to another topic here. So, what was your favorite game that you streamed?
Ooh, that's a hard question to ask because I've streamed a lot of games and it's really hard to not just say my favorite game of all time. Uh, my favorite game I've streamed.
Uh,
I've streamed a lot of games. Favorite to stream though. Because like I'm caught between like user interaction versus like a game I didn't know but everybody else knew versus like a game that I knew that nobody else knew, so I had the opportunity to educate them. That's a real hard question to ask
yeah.
or to at least answer.
You think maybe it's Ape Escape or Monkey
At that
Monday?
point, yeah,
Because
Monkey Mondays is usually probably my favorite game to look forward to, or at least my favorite stream to look forward to, because all of the Donkey Kong Country games, I was very unintelligent. I didn't know any of them, but a lot of my audience member did. Or it was the Ape Escapes because I had absolutely no knowledge of them, and everybody who was like, "Oh, I know this game; it's my favorite game," and they give me these little tidbits of information or things like that that I don't know. So I think it's any game I play on Mondays for Monkey Mondays. It always brings me joy. As much as my audience looks forward to it, I look forward to it. I love Monkey Mondays.
yeah, neat. What was your least favorite game to stream?
Uh, I've got a couple. Um, it's not that I didn't like it, but it's because the person who recommended recommended the game to me was not there to coach me through, so I had to rely on someone who knew the game and just kind of popped into my stream to kind of explain it to me. But Baldi's Basic Adventure, I think I would have loved the game a little bit more because there's so much nuance between the items. And are you familiar with Baldi's Basic Adventure?
No.
The green shirt, bald headed dude, very like 1440p thing with a ruler when it's like, what is 9 plus 10?
Is
What
that
is
the little classroom game that you were playing the other
Yes.
day? Okay, where you had
Yes,
to avoid the
that game.
principal?
So
Yeah.
that was recommended to me by an individual, but he was not there to teach me what I didn't know. So I had to basically go through the game blind. Thankfully, someone who was not in my server who kind of popped into my stream and helped me through all the items and the things I didn't understand. Like without him, I don't think I would have escaped that school.
Yeah.
I was in the dark, and that dude was like, "Oh, those quarters do this. Oh, that candy bar does that." I would have been completely lost. I would have been going. I would have been running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But that dude
Yeah.
helped me out as much as I needed to. So he kind of saved it from being a train wreck.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to games I've never played before, I've never watched before, I've never seen gameplay before, I think that's a recipe for disaster. But thankfully, I had a saving grace that saw the stream, noticed I had no idea what I was doing, and kind of helped me out. But other than that, without that saving grace, that would have been a catastrophe.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that he's there.
Dude, yeah, without him, I would have been running around with no idea what I was doing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think in recent streams that probably would have been my least favorite stream, but I had a saving grace beacon
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Saving grace speaking for the win.
for the
So
win.
for
You
the
got to do
win. Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh, aside from, Smash Bros being my favorite one to stream, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom was good. I will say I love streaming Tears of the Kingdom. Rivals 2 is my favorite to stream. By the way, dude, how did Rivals 2 go from having like maybe 1,000 or so viewers a night to like 28, 30 viewers a night? Like how does that work? Like,
You're talking about Marvel Rivals, correct?
no, Rivals of Aether 2.
Ooh,
Different game.
I'm really very uneducated with Rivals,
Okay.
so
So
again,
Rivals,
I've seen very little gameplay of you playing it and like
Mhm.
a clip here or there.
Yeah. So Rivals of Aethers is kind of like the best way I can describe it is it is kind of like a furry game with Smash Bros kind of with its own twist in it. It's basically what it is in a nutshell. But it's got its own characters. Rivals 2 doesn't really have any guest characters in it, and so it kind of imitates a tiny little hint of ultimate mechanics, while like following melee mechanics really close. And so it's a lot of it is aggression, but I mean you do have some room for defense. So it's a pretty complicated, well, complicated, it's like a simple game, but it's a really difficult game. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
you just described Melee in the truest form.
yeah,
Simple yet complicated.
simple yet
I did
complicated.
see I like when you were playing it, I think it was like 3 weeks ago when you were playing it. That was when like I was setting up my PC and just kind of getting my room like set up. I was looking at it, I was like, this definitely has like Smash vibes, but I couldn't place my finger because like it had elements of Melee, elements of Smash 4, elements of Ultimate. It kind of was like a hosh posh pot of stew when it comes to Smash, but it's also was its own thing.
Yeah,
So it wasn't just like a clone of Melee or Smash 4 or Ultimate. It was its own thing. It didn't be like, oh man, this is just Smash with furries. No, it had its own identity. So
yeah.
it definitely had a breath of fresh air in that sense.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And then like yeah, I haven't played that game in a heck a long time now. I mean, I think it might have been 3 weeks ago. We might be right, but oh man, it's been a while since I played the game. Um,
That's about when I moved into my house, and I was like, that's why I was kind of lurking in your stream when you were playing Rivals, and I was like, I'm currently setting things up. That's why I'm kind of lurking.
yeah, yeah. Dude, yeah, always appreciate the work. And dude, um, I used to say that Mario Strikers Battle Royale was the worst game for that I streamed. But dude, 2 days ago, I streamed my new least favorite game of all time, and it's called Fighter Aces Sky Control. And
Wow.
it's
I do understand your, I wouldn't say hatred, but dislike for Battle Strikers, or sorry, Mario Strikers Battle League,
yeah,
because I loved Mario Strikers for the GameCube. It
yeah,
was
for the GameCube.
probably in my top 15.
Yeah,
God, did they just took everything that was good about Mario Strikers and just kind of ruined it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
I
one of the things that I loved about Strikers is that you had a captain and then you had 3 assists.
yeah,
They had no special abilities, but then now I could just enter with a team of 4 Yoshis with different equipment, but then also like the light characters can't affect the heavy characters if they have a special. It got way too complicated.
yeah. Yeah, and
But
that's Mario Strikers Battle Royale. Yeah, I kind of agree with you in that, because with that, because like the reason is because like you said, like I mean the customizations are really good. I mean, well, in terms of
I feel
aesthetics,
like if Mario Strikers Battle League had like a
Strickles.
Fortnite no build mode where there was no customizations, no items, just straight soccer with body checks and slide tackles, I think it could have stayed on its own. So
Yeah,
the people who wanted to customize their characters could, but the people who didn't have to. I think if Battle League had a no customization mode, it really could have done well.
there's not much striking in a Battle Royale.
Give players customization, give them options. Trust me. Nowadays, you can't create a game that everybody likes, but if you give them options, you have a better chance.
Yeah, and the lack of characters too. Like Nintendo had 15 years. Come on, like
I
that
mean, we
was.
came from 8 characters and robots to what, like 12 characters and very limited customization. It really wasn't a renovation, more like a glorification on a custom skin of an already existing game with poor quality gameplay.
Yeah, yeah. But also, Fighter Aces. Let's be real about that one. That game, man, the controls were so clunky and delayed. Oh my gosh. And then,
I haven't played that one, unfortunately.
oh, it's an aircraft game. So, you're on a plane. It's, I mean, you look at it and you're like, this could be like Star Fox, maybe. Except you kind of get the idea that you're going to be diving into the ground, destroying like anti-aerial weapons on the ground and stuff, then flying right back up. No, that's not how it is. So this
I
game,
don't see how that works being an aerial unit to destroy anti-aerial units. That's not exactly how that works.
I don't know, but that's kind of the idea that it got. And then I
Right,
played the
but
game.
I'm just saying. I want to make a quick point before I let you continue. Usually, air units versus anti-air units usually have a not just a big disadvantage, a very big disadvantage. That's why they rely on land units to disable anti-air. But that's just the military and me talking to me. Please continue.
Okay. Well, anyway, whatever idea I had there, but um, but what it was is I mean, you're fighting everybody in these. In my case, it was like 5 or 6 opponents in the air, and like I said, the controls were clunky. The sound effects were pretty downright terrible, and there was no music, like at all. So, um,
That's when you pop on your Spotify and play that in the background.
yeah, it I don't know if it fit, but um then like every time I do the I don't think you call it a U-turn. What do you call it when you're kind of like flipping over your plane or whatever?
So you do like
To the,
a scoop and a rollover.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, skip and
I
roll.
don't know what that is. I'm not an air a pilot, so I don't know what that's called.
Okay. Okay, but basically like if I did that, it was kind of difficult to do, but then like as soon as I would like scoop upwards and try to go the other direction, like literally the airplanes would uh they would be right here, right? And then as soon as I would flip over, they would go whoosh. And I'm like, what the heck? I was looking at my radar too, and as I'm flipping over, they're going right underneath me, super freaking quick, like unrealistically quick. And I couldn't find these airplanes for like what 10 minutes or so, and they kept shooting at me. And
Yeah,
it
that's not how
was
radar works.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's not. It just wasn't really a well developed game, but at the same time, in all fairness, it was a very low budget game anyway. But even for a low budget game, I was thinking there might be a little bit of
I can
like
kind of
yeah,
understand that as
yeah,
well.
yeah. So, but yeah, that was like my new least. That is my new least favorite game that I've ever streamed.
I don't doubt it. That sounds like it was a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the last questions I'm going to ask is, what was the most underrated game that you played, and what made you maybe enjoy that game?
Oh my god. If this person who recommended this game ever hears me say it, I will never, ever, ever hear the end of it. But it's got to be God Hand. It
Hmm.
was recommended to me by Damien. I don't know. Are you familiar with Scott 2B?
Scott, yeah, I know him.
So his partner, his name is Damien, or at least he goes by a couple different names. I
Okay,
mean Z Broly, uh he used to be
Damien.
named I mean Scott, but he recommended me God Hand, and he was reminding me that he recommended me the game, and I had no idea what it was. It was a PS2 game about like, kind of it was like a it's kind of like a beat 'em up, but it was a one-on-one beat 'em up. So you can kind of customize your combos and everything. It was so cusp off the hand, and you kind of had an ability that made you a little OP, but for a very short period of time. I had so much fun with the game. It's basically one of those games that, like, if you ask someone who is prevalent in the PS2, they probably would never mention the game because it's not a very well like played. Like it doesn't make its rounds a lot for in the PS2 community, but God, was it a fantastic game! Very, very enjoyable.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds like a nice. Yeah, I like customizability. That's why I like the
It,
Mii fighters in Ultimate.
it's basically like if you had a like imagine you played Wii Sports, right?
Yeah.
So like the Wii Sports boxing, but you get to customize your moves and you get to have the technical range of a free roaming map. I say technical because there are borders. but you also have the ability to be like to activate like I would say like on par with Persona's like the Arsene ability,
Okay.
but for a
Okay.
short period of time. So you have all of that jam packed together with the PS2 graphics and that PS2 fucking hey time period. It all just like it screams like this ain't gonna work, but it just does.
It
It's a
just does.
great game. I loved it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Cool. Do you have any subscriber goals on your channel?
Absolutely not. I have no goals to reach any sort of follower count, subscriber count. I don't care if I go the next 15 streams with absolutely no viewers because I'm here to create my space. Whether you have the opportunity, the want, the need, or the enjoyment to pop in, that's all on you. I do this for my sake. This is a hobby through and through. I never want this to become a career. If it does, that's fantastic. If not, that's okay too. I'm here to enjoy myself in my corner. And if you want to pop on in, I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Well, so what's we got a little bit more time here. So what was the most difficult game you played?
The most difficult game I played. Give me a second. Let me look through what games I have played. Oh, Sekiro. Absolutely. I hate Souls-like games. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a Souls-like game. I absolutely hate Souls games because I don't have the patience to kind of memorize enemy patterns, enemy like free range combat enemy styles to react to them. That's why I never got into Souls-like games. I hate Souls games,
Yeah.
and if you recommend me a Souls games, I will probably cry.
Yeah. I guess I gotcha, man. I gotcha. Yeah. Well, RuneYosh, dude, it was really, really nice having you on this podcast, man. So, on a scale from
Thank you for
one,
having me.
yeah, for sure, dude. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, or anyway, words, but 10 being
Words be
the
words.
highest. Yeah,
Ingarish be Ingarish.
yeah, absolutely. How would you rate this podcast?
Well, to be honest, I thought you were going to ask me a couple more personal questions when it comes to how I came to be. So it was a little more unexpected because you did throw me a lot of curveballs.
Hmm.
But when it comes to encompassing what I do, why I do it, and what's my highs and lows, I think you kind of really hit the nail on the head. I'd give you a 7.
Okay, cool, cool. We'll take that. All right, let us go ahead and raid. How about Sideswipe Shark? What is he up to right now? Yeah, let's go ahead and raid this guy. And guys, thank you so much for watching the podcast with RuneYosh and I, the Get to Know You podcast. And check out his channel. The link is right in this. Right.
Up, down, left,
Up,
right,
down,
BA,
right. Yeah.
select, start.
Right. And the URL is right in the tag right here.
I can't necessarily
In the
turn my
graphic.
fucking model on. I can point
Yeah.
to it if I can turn my model around. It's this
Yeah.
thing that's behind the blue Yoshi.
Yeah, that thing right there, that graphic. But
Yeah.
yeah, check him out, guys. He's definitely very much worth following, and give him a follow. And y'all,
Greatly
let's get
appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Devin.
absolutely.